Оройн дэрхэн үзэгчдээ их сурвалж ярилцлагын тусгай дугаар хэрж байна. Миний өнөөдрийн зочин Америк нэгдсэн улсын туслах төрийн нарийн бичгийн даргын орлогч, бизнес эдийн засгийг хариуцсан орлогч Kurt Tong ирсэн байна. Good evening.
Good evening.
And thank you for accepting my invitation.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. Is this your first time in Mongolia?
This is my second time. The first time I came with my family on vacation.
On vacation?
It was about 15 years ago. And we had a wonderful time going out in the countryside and riding horses and hiking and stuff. This time I've only been in the city. But certainly Mongolia has changed quite a lot over the last 15 years.
Yeah. What's the impression about your city development here?
Well, it's a very busy place. Lots of cars and people seem to be very determined to get where they want to go and a lot of activity. So
no traffic jam.
There's some traffic jams, yeah.
Yeah. You attended a meeting called Economic Dialogue. What was that about?
So today, on Monday, yesterday we had the Trade and Investment Framework Agreement conversation. And today was the Economic Policy Dialogue, which was a broad conversation. We talked a bit about the macroeconomic conditions in Mongolia. We talked about the regional trade and investment mechanisms. We had a conversation about the energy sector, about infrastructure. So it was quite broad-ranging conversation, mainly focused on ways that the United States might be of assistance in Mongolia's economic development.
Was that just a discussion, or did you sign any agreements?
It was just
documents?
a discussion. Yeah, it was a conversation which helps. But I think both sides understand where the other is coming from, and for my side in particular, it was useful to get some ideas about ways that our government can participate in conversations. For example, for the Millennium Challenge Compact, the second round compact, and so by gathering more information, we'll be able to come up with better ideas.
Okay. I just translate your interview. Our local journalist had interviewed you, and you said the USA wants to become Mongolia's good third neighbor.
Right.
And what does it mean?
Well, I mean, Mongolia has a third neighbor policy to reach out to countries outside the region, and if you think about neighbors, sometimes you have neighbors who you never talk to, and you have good neighbors that you talk to a lot, and you do maybe you share some tools or you have some cooperative relationships, and that's the kind of thing that the United States wants to do. We want to be a good friend and a good partner for Mongolia.
We Mongolians just received some good news just this morning from Dubai.
Right.
You see? Rio Tinto has just signed an agreement to proceed to mining activities. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it shows that the current government here in Ulaanbaatar is very determined to create a good environment for foreign investment, and is focused on the importance of developing the mining sector, which is a big source of potential revenue and resources for Mongolia. Now, we both know that there was a bit of a bumpy road in the decision making surrounding the OT project, and I think that on the one hand, it shows the importance of reaching clear decisions and having a good investment environment. It also shows that the Mongolian government recognizes that, and its willingness to work with foreign partners and come to a conclusion, I think, is really good news.
Yeah. Recently, I traveled to USA, and I visited three cities. I met with American business people and American government. It was a trip about TransPacific Partnership.
Right.
What's that about?
The TransPacific Partnership is a free trade agreement that's being negotiated among 12 countries, including the United States, including several other countries in the Americas, Latin America, Mexico, Canada, and then 7 countries in Asia. And this is going to be a high standard, state-of-the-art, very, very advanced free trade agreement which includes both developed countries and developing countries. And the intention is to create a bridge across the Pacific and intensify economic exchange among these countries, and also to set better rules for how trade and investment takes place in the Asia-Pacific region. So it's really a very significant project, and we're quite glad that it's coming close to completion.
Yeah, I'm keen to know that how Mongolia can be integrated into this agreement area. You know, I went to USA with my fellow Asian journalists. They represent very big economies like Japan, Australia, South Korea. You know, Mongolia is very small. Mm-hmm. We are a landlocked country. We need to go through Russia or China to have some access to ocean. So, what's your take on that?
Well, I think in the modern global economy, physical location is still important, but it's not the only factor in who one's economic partners can be, because there's a lot of technology that can bridge distances. E-commerce, for example, or aviation, and trade and investment can take place over great distances. So I don't think Mongolia should feel trapped in this landlocked situation, but rather be reaching out to the entire planet and creating relationships with Europe, with the United States, with Japan, throughout Asia, and broadening those relationships will lead to more competitiveness in the Mongolian economy and greater benefit going forward. So specifically to TPP, which I think is your question, the TPP agreement is being designed specifically to allow for, in the future, once it's completed, and it'll be a careful decision of the existing partners, but in the future there is a possibility for other economies to join. So in that regard, the best thing that Mongolia can do specifically to TPP is, once it's completed, go get a copy of the agreement and study it and see if it's something that would interest Mongolia.
Will you welcome China?
China is theoretically, it could be a TPP member, and it may happen over the long term. The Chinese economy is a very big and complex economy, and the real question whether China could become a member of TPP is a question of Chinese willingness, because the TPP is a very significant agreement in the degree to which trade and investment is liberalized, and the degree to which the rules become transparent and consistent. And to be honest, there are some challenges in working with China on the rules of the road and economics. So our hope is that over time, with a lot of conversation and interaction with China, that the Chinese economy will become more open, and eventually we may be in a position where we could consider its inclusion in the TPP.
I asked about China because there's a talk about possible agreement which China led, like Asia-Pacific Free Trade Area. Is it Chinese initiative, or it's
the free trade area of the Asia-Pacific might be what you're referring to.
Yes.
Or FTAAP. And that concept came up in APEC, in APEC conversations. And it was discussed throughout, over many years. And then in about 2007, 2008, the APEC economy started to get more serious about it. And in 2010, already 5 years ago, when the APEC meeting was held in Yokohama, the leaders of APEC decided that they would start to consider how to achieve a free trade area of the Asia Pacific, including all of the economies of APEC. And that conversation is continuing, and research is being done about how to achieve that. And at the same time, through the TPP and then some of the alternative approaches like the RCEP, which you may be familiar with, which is an ASEAN-centered free trade agreement with 6 partners joining with ASEAN in an agreement. All of those conversations, those negotiations are continuing. And so the vision is that the TPP and the RCEP can be considered pathways to an eventual FTAAP. And certainly, Mongolia should be part of that conversation somehow.
Yes, some Mongolian politicians say we have two choices. One is China-led initiative, one is TPP.
I don't want to contradict any of your leaders,
yeah?
but that's not actually the choice. The choice is how aggressive does Mongolia want to be in integrating its economy in the global economy. It's not a choice between China or the United States. Mongolia should have good economic relationships with China. It should have good economic relationship with the United States, with Russia, with all of the potential close neighbors and third neighbors for the Mongolian economy.
Okay. I want to ask you some question about your personal career. Why did you choose the diplomatic path of career?
It was an accident. Why did you choose journalism? I mean, everything in life is an accident. And when I was studying in Japan.
Do you speak Japanese?
I speak Japanese and Chinese, and English.
Yes.
When I was studying in Japan, an acquaintance of mine invited me to work for the summer at the American Embassy. And I found it to be just very interesting work. And I've always been interested in international affairs and how countries relate with one another. And one of the best ways to become involved in that is in the diplomatic service. So when the opportunity arose, I chose this as a career.
Okay. Thank you for the brief explanation of these important issues.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, I think, I'm going back from this visit to Mongolia very encouraged, because I think what I've heard from all of the people that I've talked to in your government is that people here really understand the importance of being open to the global economy, being active, aggressive, and enthusiastic participants, and also that they understand the importance of transparency and how Mongolia is applying its own laws and consistency in the application of those laws. And so I think that really, with that kind of vision and the strong human resources that Mongolia has and your natural resources, I think the future is very bright. So it's been really a great visit, and I'm quite optimistic.
Okay. Well,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Эксурж ярилцлагын